There is something 2 times more important than IQ in determining success. So, what is it? Well, it's self discipline. A huge study showed that students who were more self disciplined were much more likely to get into competitive colleges, to get a high GPA, and more competitive programs within their school. So, here's the first part: motivation. Motivation is extremely significant, as you might very well know if you found yourself really bored during homework or some task that you really didn't want to do. Now, how motivation can be really easily ignited is through a reinterpretation of what you're doing. So, for example, if you interpret homework as perhaps a training of your self discipline, now you might see why that's more motivating. So, that's the first rule: reinterpret activities to either become more motivated to do them or less motivated to do them. The second essential element of self discipline is focus. And that's undoubtedly the case. Because you can be motivated as hell, but if you're motivated to do something that doesn't matter, you're not going to achieve anything. So let's develop focus. And this is actually extremely simple because there is an activity which helps us become focused. And not only that, it requires almost no time to do. So try it with me right now. First, really focus on the sensation in your feet. Try to imagine whether it's, I don't know, they're feeling too hot, too cold, whether there's some pressure on them, whether it is too little, too much. So try to sense that. I'll give you a few seconds to do that. All right. And you might have not noticed, but right now we practiced our concentration, our focus. What you've done is you forced your mind to focus on parts of your body, and that turns out to be the same way that your brain uses to achieve goals. So you might imagine that by practicing what we've just done, you're effectively practicing how to eliminate distractions and how to focus on what's important. So my second recommendation is for you to try to do this every day. Not exactly just thinking of your feet, but I recommend instead to focus on your breath and do so for at least 3 minutes. The third essential element of self-discipline is forgiveness. And I know this may sound quite silly, but it's actually extremely important, not only in my view, but it's scientifically as well. Many studies have shown that people who forgive themselves, who accept failure and continue despite it, are actually much more likely to succeed in the long run. For example, a seminal study on addiction and how it affects us has shown that people who try multiple times are much more successful at defeating addiction at all. Some people required 4 to 5 times of failure and redoing, and so on and so forth until they were finally ready to defeat their addiction. And you know, alcohol, methamphetamine, smoking is really hardcore when it comes to difficulty, but in our case, it's also important to really pay attention and accept that sometimes we may not be perfect, we may not do something really well the first time, and just going with the flow.